Hi, and welcome to the McDonald's Sessions. Today I'm with John. We're going to talk about his experience in running, the races that he's run, and just kind of his overall philosophy on running. So sit back and enjoy, and see what we talk about. Okay, I'm here with John today, and we're going to talk a little bit about your history first. So, back when you were in high school or college, like, were you a runner then, or what kind of athletic? I don't even know what it is. Activities did you pursue back then, if any?
Yeah, I can tell a good story here.
Okay.
So actually in grade school, we would have one track meet a year.
Okay.
And so my 8th grade, I think I only did this in my 8th grade. 1 year, whenever. But
Yeah.
it was a meet with a whole bunch of schools, and I grew up outside of Kansas City, but it was in Kansas City where the meet was.
Okay.
And I had worked on the high jump and on the 400 meter because, well, back then it was like the 440 yard.
Okay.
But it's basically one lap around the track. We didn't even have a track. We just were running around on the street, around the streets around near the school.
Yeah.
And that was all my training.
Yeah.
And I had always been just a slow kid. You know, I was one of those, I would hang out with slow kids. I never thought of myself being very athletic. And so for whatever reason, you know, I resolved I was just going to run as fast as I could, even though it was a really, really long distance to run all the way around that track.
Right.
There were multiple heats also, so I understood that there were multiple heats of that race, of that event. And so when it was my turn to run, I just ran. I stayed in my lane.
Right.
And there was one guy who was really fast, Jose, because that's what the name was on the back of his shirt. And so I just tried to catch Jose, and he clearly beat me, but I surprisingly got second out of that heat.
Yes.
And it ended up, that was by far the fastest heat. So I got second place overall, and I had no idea I was capable of running fast.
So is that your first medal? Did you get a medal or a ribbon for that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'll have to. I'd have to probably at my parents' house. But yeah. But
That's awesome.
So I never. That was the first inkling I ever had that I could actually do sports. Really.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
So from there, did you channel that to a high school track career?
Yeah. So in high school, I was in track all 4 years, and I was okay. Not fast. I ran while I was in high school is when it switched from 440 yards to 400 meters.
Yeah.
Back in the old days. But and I would sometimes place, but there were a lot faster people.
Yeah.
In high school. But my senior year, I did actually place at districts. So
Nice.
I went to state.
Cool.
So and I was probably like 12th.
Like
At
was a
state.
400 meter then?
Yep.
Nice. Was it in Wichita? Were you on the Kansas or Missouri side?
Missouri side. So
Where's the state meet in Missouri?
Jefferson City.
Okay. Awesome.
But,
Did you do any other events, any relays or?
yeah, I was in a couple of relays at state.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Funny thing, it was on my. I missed my graduation, so because it was the same day.
It is weird
Yeah.
how the track meets are. Like our track meet for our kids was after school is like completely out. It was so weird. I mean, I don't know. It makes it a unique sport.
Yeah, the valedictorian was also on the track, and she had gone to state. She was really fast, so
Yeah.
she had gone to state every year, and so she made a taped recording of her speech, and so it was like My parents weren't thrilled that I was missing my graduation because relatives were there and
Yeah.
everything. But you know, it's like I was trying every year. That was the only year I got to go to state, and gosh darn it, I was going to go to state.
I feel like you might remember a state track meet more than graduation. Graduation was, it's one of those things that sounds really fun, but it is so boring to be at. Especially, I don't know what size your high school was, but
Small.
if it's not too big, it's not too bad.
23 in my graduating
Oh,
class.
that's not too bad. It's bad when you have to listen to about 200 names
Oh,
go.
yeah.
I mean, our high school was 120 when I graduated, but still, even that was a long time. Even though I did know everyone. I mean, that was a good number because at least then I knew everyone. But I like the schools around here, the Blue Valley schools and stuff. I mean, that'd be awful. So, okay. Did you do cross country or anything else?
No, I was not, because running long distances, that was for the crazy people, or you know, for the people who could actually run long distances. So even I was like a mile. Yeah.
So then after high school, did you keep running, or what happened then? Did you just completely stop?
No, I went to college. I gained some weight, and I didn't do any sports for years.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Once I was done, I was just done. So how did you get back into running again?
That's actually a good question. There were a couple times, I think after my first daughter was born, I think there was some time there where I tried to take a little better care of myself. And
Yeah.
So I would go out and do some jogging, a little bit of running. But it wasn't until I looked it up and I already forgot, but it was probably about 10 years ago. I think at that point I started getting into it a little bit more, and I remember, so another little story is I was dating someone. She was she would run triathlons and did a lot of other races,
Right.
and so it was the dot to dot, which at that, back then it was either the 5K or the 10K. 5K was one loop, the 10K was two loops. And so she was doing the 10K, and so I did the 5K and kind of ran with her. And that was the first time I ever ran a full 3.1 miles.
Yeah.
So it's like, wow, I guess I can do that.
Is that kind of the race that got you hooked, or did it take some more time for you to keep doing some races too? You're like, this is really something that I want to do.
It kind of hooked me a little bit, yeah. So and kind of the progression with that was, I realized, okay, so I can run a 5K. I can actually run 3 miles. Wow, I wonder what else I could do. And so then I thought, well, maybe I'll try. It would be kind of cool someday to be able to run a 10K. And then I was still dating that girl. And so when she said, well, how far do you want to run? When we were going to go out for a run. And I said, well, that would be kind of neat to go. Eventually I want to go, 6 miles.
Yeah.
But maybe I'll try for 5 this time. And she knew the route, and this was before Garmin or anything else like that. I would use map my run on my phone, but I would look at that while I was running.
Yeah.
And so I kind of just trusted her to take me on the route. And so then when we got, went out, and it felt like a long run. And when we got back, I looked at it, it's just like 6 miles. She had tricked me into red. It's like, okay, there was my excuse. It's like, I guess I could do a 10K now.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, and it's just kind of, it was like, I remember it was after doing 10K, and it's like, I wonder if I could do more. And somebody would say, half marathon's not, if you can do a 10K, you can do it half marathon. It's like, okay.
I've used that line a lot for any distance. So what's the furthest that you've ever run?
Well, that would be Chicago. And
Did you do the marathon there?
I did. That was my first marathon this fall.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, and then I did Loggerheads. I've done 2 full. So. And I would say Chicago was the longest because, according to my GPS, it was 27 miles.
I like it the other way.
So technically, I'm an ultra runner.
There you go. So,
yeah, I'm sure the GPS was off, running through all the buildings in Chicago. But and everybody always said GPS is going to be off.
So what made you do a marathon? Do you have like a specific reason that you did it, or you just wanted to see if you could do it? Like, how did you get from, especially doing Chicago? I mean, you could have done a ton of marathons here. Why did you do Chicago?
Well, for one thing, I had felt for a couple of years, it's like I'm gonna do a marathon at some point. I want to push myself and see what I can do. Just like that one race when I was in grade school. It's just like you're never gonna find out unless you try.
Right.
What you can do. And surprise, surprise, it's like I've always succeeded. Yeah, it doesn't mean I did well, but I've always succeeded at anything I've attempted.
Yeah.
In that realm. So I was like, let's do it. And I was feeling a lot. I've been dealing with injuries and things a lot this fall, but when I committed to doing it, it's like I was feeling pretty good. I was able to run a lot longer runs, multiple long runs during the same week. So
yeah.
So I signed up, and then part of it was I figured I'm gonna go big. It's just like because I've not really traveled for a race before, other than this one. But,
Manhattan's not Chicago.
No. But so it's just, and then I also have a coworker who he's run a lot of marathons, and he always does Chicago, no matter what shape he's in, and he also does the charity, Ronald McDonald's house charities. It's kind of nice placement here, but and so I have family who's used the Ronald McDonald House or been affiliated with that in the past, so I thought that's a good charity.
Yeah.
And that was, if you can't qualify or you miss the lottery, which I clearly missed because I didn't sign up until earlier this year, you can still get in. The charities have a quota that they can fill.
Yeah.
And so when I first signed up, they already had their quota filled, so I didn't even know if I was going to be able to make it in this year. And so at that point, that's when I signed up for Loggerhead, because gosh darn it, one way or another, I'm going to run a marathon this year.
So I've asked people like at their race like that, what did you feel afterwards? Did you feel, you probably had a mixed emotion, but did you feel mostly pride, or are you relieved, or are you just looking for the next thing? Because I always build it up like this is gonna be so awesome to be done, but then when I'm done, I'm just like, now I got to do something else.
It was a neat feeling to have accomplished it. And quite frankly, I was just so sore. I was just like, I need to, just take it easy for a little bit. But I knew I had, the following weekend I had Kansas City Half Marathon.
Yep.
And so I knew I had more races coming up. So I knew I didn't get a complete relief.
Yeah.
But it was a good, I knew I could do it, and I actually did it. So that was, there was a sense of accomplishment, sense of relief. And
do you remember how you felt when you saw the finish line? Do you remember what that felt like?
Yeah, it's just like, I can finally stop running. But there's like a little incline. It's just like, Chicago is very flat, actually. But have you done it?
Nope.
Okay.
I signed up for the lottery, I didn't make it, and then I was like,
Yeah. It's very flat, but the only real noticeable hill is like it's like a quarter mile from the finish line.
Yeah.
And so I had been like alternating running and walking just for my leg and everything, but I was gonna run up that hill, and I did. So
yeah, it's hard not to run at the very end, especially with all the all the people there.
Yeah.
And it's
There's so many people, 40,000 runners.
yeah,
And I think they actually kind of block off not a lot of observers can be near the ending. But it was just so many people. I took a photo. I sent it to my daughters. It's like the table, long table, just filled with bananas. I've never seen so many bananas in my life.
yeah. Okay, I'm here with John, and we were talking about your marathon finish. If you watched any of these so far, you'll know that every time someone says that they've done a marathon, you know what the next step is. So when are you gonna do your first 50K?
I really don't know. I'm not even signing up for any more marathons at this point. I want to be able to go for some long runs without feeling, IT band hip issues. But I am interested in doing something longer.
I mean, you were at Loggerhead, so you kind of see a little bit what that's like. It's completely different than a marathon. I mean, even pretty much any 50K, the ones that are around here are just more relaxed, where you don't run the whole time. You do walking. Mm-hmm. You spend a lot more time at the aid station, so it's different. I mean, there are people that run it hard, but most of my friends don't, and I definitely don't. So I just kind of take it easy on it. But it's more about the time and just the time on feet and stuff. So it's a different experience. It's so much. I don't know if it's easier. It's just different. It's just not as
probably more relaxed. And
yeah. Yeah. So you get the opportunity. I mean, I don't know in the marathon how much you stopped or how much you fueled, but I mean, you can get quesadillas and grilled cheese and all kinds of stuff. So if you're training for that kind of race, usually you have to train to eat too. So
train
you
your
want
gut.
So you want to go and run your race and get a sandwich in the middle of it or something. So it's just different. But there's a lot of good races. There's a lot of, and you could talk to. I'm sure Sydney's an ambassador for Midwest Endurance. There's other races too, but the ones down in Oswego are really fun. Have you run down there before?
No.
I saw they're going to have a half marathon in February at the trail down there, so it might be cool. But it's kind of far from up here, but it's fun.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested, and I'm not thinking that far out. I probably should be, but I should probably know. Yes, I'll be fine. I'll get healed from whatever my body's dealing with. And not have to worry about having to walk, and just walk, run, just enjoy a nice leisurely ultra.
Yeah, at the Mile Zero, which was not Mile Zero. I'm not sure what it's called in August. It's called something else. Ultrapalooza. That was in September, like September 3rd, and it was so hot. I kind of knew it was going to be so hot that I couldn't run. So I mean, I did it by myself with nobody else but there, and I just ran as much as I could and then walked the rest of it, just trying to finish it because it was brutally hot, and you just have to give your body the grace to say, I'm going to walk and it's fine. And no one cares. I mean, there's tons of people on the trail that know who I am just because I have a camera all the time. They don't really care if I'm walking. They don't care about the time. They just think it's cool that you can finish. And I mean, you just want to look at yourself the same way and just be like, I did a 50K. It's really neat. So, and if you could do the marathon, I'm sure you can do it. So,
and actually, I did Summer Argo, and so that was very much. It was like, there are maybe two people, just a couple people going for time, and I walked up a lot of the hills. I walked down the hills because that was almost worse. On my legs, and so in my time, it was a half marathon, and I was way over my normal time. So, and I would stop at the aid stations and drink.
That's a good representation of what it's like.
It was hot.
Yeah. So see, you're ready.
Yeah.
So Do you have a favorite race that you've done? It doesn't have to. It could be any distance, or it could be something you've done more than once.
Yeah, not anything that's just absolutely better. I enjoy this year was a little tougher running with the cows. There's something about that race. The environment and all that. This year it was suddenly a lot warmer.
Yeah.
Than just than other years, or even just the days leading up to it. It was just a lot warmer. A lot of people had trouble because our bodies hadn't adapted to the warmth yet. But
it felt like there was a big gap between the aid station at the end too and the finish, or it was in the sun. I don't know. There was something about the ending that was really rough too. But yeah, it was hard.
Yeah, but I like how that one's run or put together. But that's probably one of my favorites. So when I was getting dressed today, I always wear running shirts, and this is the Bill Snyder half.
Yeah.
So that was a fun one. That I guess that was the first time I ever traveled. So it's in Manhattan, Kansas, and my older daughter went with me. So it was after she had gotten out of school, but she still had has an apartment in Manhattan. Yeah, where she's going to school. So we rode up there together, and she saw me a few places along the route, and it was a fun experience for me to do that.
Yeah.
It was amazingly cold, surprisingly cold and windy out in the plains. So had a cold beginning, but that was a good one.
And I think I said this, even the videos that haven't come out yet, but I say this all the time, that the things that you really remember in your racing and running are the things that go wrong, like the weather's too hot, the weather's too cold, it rains. That's usually what makes it memorable, is the things that happen that you weren't expecting, or usually that you have to overcome. That's what makes it. And then if you get to see your daughter like multiple times, there's stuff like this, the different things. I mean, you can run a 5K every weekend, and they're kind of all run together. But then you get to the 5K where it is snowing all of a sudden at the beginning, and that can be something you remember. So, the adversity is really the fun of running. Honestly, it doesn't seem fun then, but when you look back, it's like that was really, really something cool. So
it makes sense, because otherwise it's same old. You know. And how much do you? Somebody asks, "How's your day at work?" It's just like every other day.
Yeah.
So it probably is. If something goes wrong or something goes really well, those are the things you can talk about. But same with races.
So do you have a mantra or something that helps you get through, like on those really long runs, or like did you have anything that you were telling yourself during the marathon or even half marathons when you were just didn't really want to go any further? Like, how did you overcome that?
I don't have a particular mantra. I just think of things I enjoy. Try not to think about anything. If I have a discomfort or anything, I try not to think about that.
Yeah.
I think about try to focus on what it's kind of the glass is half full or whatever. And I'll often think, it's like, okay, well, I've already got 3 miles done, So those are 3 miles I don't have to do later. And so it's just like I try to think about what I've already accomplished versus what I've got up ahead. But just think about, music or something like that too.
Yeah.
I don't always listen to music. I used to always, but it's sometimes when I'm out on a long run or something, I'll be just listen to nature or be more into the environment. But sometimes I'll be listening to music, and that'll kind of get me pumped up, and especially during races or long runs.
Yeah. So speaking of long runs, do you have a place here in the area that you like to do your long runs? Do you have a favorite place?
I live just off of the trails, and so it's like I can get on the trail and I'll either go east or west.
At Indian Creek, right?
Yeah, yeah. So 99.9% of my running is on that trail.
Yeah.
So I don't, if I go for walks, I might walk around the neighborhood, and I've been trying to cover different streets and just have a look at other houses and things in the neighborhood. But if I'm running, it's almost always, I don't have to drive anywhere. I can just go out my front door and
Yeah.
and
If you're getting on where I think you're getting on, you have like some good hill sections too, both directions.
I do. Yeah.
That going towards like southwest. I mean, there's a lot over there and a lot the other way too. So I've run like kind of started in Olathe and just ran point to point and had my wife pick me up.
Oh, wow.
That's the way to go, because then you get to see just everything just once. And I feel like east to west might be the better way. Like, it's not quite as hilly. It's like more, it's the smoother uphills, but it might not be. I don't know. That's what I've told myself at least.
Yeah, there's one over by Shawnee Mission South. There's
Yes.
a massive hill, and so I've actually run hills on there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, well, is there anything else that you would like to add? I think we covered your high school career, your after that, and then your current career, and then your future of ultramarathon running.
I'm hoping to get into ultras.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you get healthy, and then you can do it, and then there's a ton of people that will probably comment after this to push you into it too. Be like, just join us, because it's fun, and there's
Drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, and you'll see there's people that are so much better than even me, or sorry Sydney, but we are just not the best ultra runners, but we're experienced
But you
ultra
do
runners.
it. You
Yeah,
do it.
we've done it a lot.
You get her done.
Yeah. So okay, well, thank you for joining me. Thank you for coming to
you.
McDonald's for the first time in decades.
Yes. Thanks.
So that's all for here, and thank you for watching, and I will talk to you next time.